What do you think is in Halbrand's pouch?
The knuckle bones
two
of
testicles?
the guy whose hand he had to cut off to serve Morgoth.
Oh, yeah?
Hey everybody, welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave and the review of Rings of Power Season 1, Episode 5. My name is Bina007 and I will be your host today, and I am joined by Alix.
Hi, I'm Alix, also known as Aiwendil on the Discord.
By Mary.
Hi everyone, it's Mary, Nymeria on the Discord and other VOK places.
And by Varley.
In real life.
Great. So let's get straight into it. I'll go around again, and if you can tell me how much you did or didn't like the episode, and also whether it improved or deteriorated from previous episodes in the series as we hit the halfway mark. So, oh yes, and just to warn anyone listening, we could spoil anything in Tolkien's published works and potentially also the Peter Jackson movies. So over to you, Alix.
I liked this episode better than last week's. I'd give it maybe a 3.5. I thought it picked up the pace a little bit, but the writing is still kind of simple and predictable. But I guess we'll get into that more later.
Ooh, okay, so only 3.5. Over to you, Mary.
Do you know how much we gave last week? Because I kind of don't remember. Maybe 3.5.
I feel we were all in the 2.5s to 3s. It was really low last week.
I usually don't go under lower than 3. Like it's my low point. Because I don't like to be too much of a critic. Maybe a 4 this time. It's definitely better. It's still not the most satisfying thing with the dialogues and a lot of that, but 4, yeah.
Well, I'm excited because I think we're going to get some debate. Over to you, Matt.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a 4 as well. The writing is still kind of clunky, and there's a couple of major plot points that I'm just confused by. Mithril saving the elves being one of them. But the epic going to war music was awesome. Eminem Sauron was awesome, and maybe Gandalf still. I don't understand what's going on there, but yeah, I like it much more than last week's.
So I think I'm the most positive. I also liked it far more than last week. I would probably be at 4.5. I really, really loved this episode. I felt the full epicness of going to war. There was lots of Elendil, which obviously makes me super happy. And yes, I also was scratching my head that if Mithril could suddenly just give elves forever life in Middle-earth, why Elrond, etc., weren't just taking it in Lord of the Rings too. I mean, that just all seemed hokey, but glad to get the hobbits back. And I think this is my favorite episode so far of the series. So I just cannot wait to see what happens next week now. So there you go, bit of a range. Let us get into, should we do it by location again? That maybe makes it the most easy. So let's start with the proto-hobbits who continue their nomadic journey, singing what I found to be quite a moving song/hymn about wandering. Obviously, in quite dire straits, the guy who may or may not be Gandalf helps to rescue someone, injures his hand, and kind of regenerates it by going into a mystic trance with some water. Nearly does Nori in because he just doesn't realize she's there. And I think that's the first time she probably realizes his true power. And finally, we get to see some very evil-looking people looking at the crater where he crashed. Curious to see what all of you lore masters think those people might be. So how did you all like the Proto-Hobbit story?
I liked seeing the hobbits again. I like that we're kind of getting a little journey through Middle-earth through their point of view and seeing all these beautiful locations. That's always a pleasure to see. And I like the story with presumably Gandalf and Nori, and the parallel between the scene where she's listing all these potential dangers, and then when she realizes that he's probably just as dangerous, if not more, than all the big folk and wolves and stuff that they encounter. And these mysterious people, I'm just as baffled as you.
Okay,
as
so
to
this isn't
who
something
these might
that
be.
okay. And I was just going to say the Silmarillion doesn't reveal this, but then again, Gandalf isn't here at this point in the Silmarillion, I guess. So
Yeah,
if it
no.
is indeed Gandalf, if it's Palando or some blue wizard, again, who knows? But one assumes they're agents of Sauron, right? They're not good peeps. So anyone else on this section?
Yeah, the weird people at the end were just very. I mean, it's weird because they were like in white and kind of you expect them to be kind of okay because just if they're clothed in white, it might must be that then they're good. But no, the vibe was terribly wrong. So I have no clue either. But yes, it was very good to have this whole journey and the song, and it is a good part of the show, I think, and that's one thing that we missed dearly last week, I think.
Yeah, the hobbits come with music, and the music
Mhm.
tends to be very good.
Yeah,
Mr. Varley?
the Hobbit song reminded me of the Outlander theme. I thought we were going to see Jamie Fraser pop up somewhere there. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I was
it's part
trying
of the. Yeah, you're right. It's the same theme. It is.
to. Okay, good. And then I was looking at the map and I was trying to figure out where they were, and I think they're in Mordor. And what they were saying about migrating from place to place, and they go to the orchard. That gave me like the thing with the Ents and the Entwives. The Entwives loved orchards and fruit bearing trees and stuff like that. And then they went into the east, and then war came, and then the Ents couldn't find them again. So I don't know if we're gonna see something like that, but I was getting those kind of vibes from it. And then yeah, the weird guys in white. I was getting like those weirdos that hang around Palpatine. Like I was getting that kind of vibe from them. They had like higher than normal collars and half hoods and
Just like
stuff like
they're
that.
always in red in the throne room in Star Wars.
Exactly.
It's, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I see that. What is the end game for them? And we've got 5 episodes left. I mean, do you think we see them resettled? I guess I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this particular part, Gandalf presumably at some point reveals himself, finds his purpose. I don't know. But it all seems very straightforward. I think you guys are right. This is quite not a simplistic series, but it is more childlike than, well, for sure, House of the Dragons, and then even the new Star Wars show that's out. This is much more simplistic. Anything else on this, or over to the Southlands? Presumably, the action in the Southlands isn't that far from where the Hobbits are if they're in proto-Mordor, right? Because I think the whole point is that these guys were former followers of Morgoth and also kind of in the vague area. So the story here is that Bronwyn is trying to rally the people in the town, not to bend the knee to someone who may or may not be Sauron, but definitely is Adar, Uncle Benjen. Can't believe excellent makeup there. And then one of the townspeople is saying that the only choice is to bend the knee. So he leads them all off at night, by torchlight, which is quite moving, to go and bend the knee. And he presumes Adar is Sauron, but Sauron sort of is not Sauron, Adar is very ambiguous and sort of just like punches him back. And says that simply bending the knee is not enough. He has to commit a blood sacrifice of the poor young torchbearer who happens to be at the front of the line. So we're already seeing just how evil and how petrifying this whole sacrifice thing is. Anything else going on in that part of the world that I didn't mention I should have done plot-wise?
They had that weird scene about the sun and how Adar seems to miss the sun but isn't injured by it compared to his orc that for some reason he tortures.
He's clearly an elf, right? I mean,
And
he
the
has the
ears
pointy
and the
ears and
cheekbones.
everything.
Yeah, he's an elf gone wrong.
Yeah.
He's an elf who's fallen.
He's a fallen elf.
Yeah, with
Bina,
weird.
how pissed are you? Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
Valley?
I was gonna ask Bina how pissed you were that you didn't put that water feature in when you redid your back garden.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely.
Just
I mean,
just
it's just,
hiding behind a little bit of ivy, like no one remembered it.
yeah, exactly. It's just legendary. I mean, I saw the stakes. I think it's good that they have ramped up the stakes in this show in general, because the way it was cut, then you see the kind of the reason why it matters that this army is coming from Numenor to help these people out. I love every time they cut up to showing a looming shot of any tower. Like towers are always sinister and thought of over in Tolkien. But otherwise, fairly straightforward. We didn't get any more sort of information about the meaning of the sun and what the sun means, right? And his connection to blood magic.
I think he's not of any interest by himself. He just happened to find that dagger key thing. And I think the fact that he shows it to his mom and Aranda is proof of that he's just like, what is this weird thing? And he doesn't immediately want to be with the bad guys and with the guy whose name I don't remember, who leads the group to go and bend the knee. I think he's just her kid, but I agree it's kind of weird that we still don't know who his father is, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's playing on that, like, not everything is born bad or good, but like there's decisions to be made along the way. And this kid's hand seems to be stacked towards like bad, but maybe he'll choose to be good instead.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also agree. I don't think maybe his parentage is significant, but I don't think it is. I think he's just an example of how just men in this world can be corrupted. And maybe that's also the story of Adar as well. Back to Numenor, where we see, maybe I was naive, but I just thought at the end of the last episode, they made the big decision to go and they were going to go. But no, there's a whole episode where they decide if they really are going to go.
Whole episode. It is so long.
I mean, there's
at
also
least,
some
at least
training.
more stuff was happening in this episode than last one.
Yeah, but it was still like, for reals? Like literally the final shot should have been the first shot. But anyways.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, in Numenor, we have the son of Pharazôn trying to sabotage the 3 ships that are sailing off. He is saved by Isildur, who is stowing away because his dad won't let him actually be part of the party because he hasn't fulfilled his training. His dad being just awesome, and Elendil and so dreamy. What else happens? You have Galadriel trying to convince Halbrand to step into his destiny as a king and to lead his people. And you also get a bit of the backstory of why he's so reluctant to rule. He thinks he has committed some sort of sin, presumably in supporting Morgoth, that is beyond redemption, and that they will not be happy to see him. Queen Regent Muriel seems to be on the fence about whether to commit troops to go or not. Off screen, we see that Halbrand obviously says that he does want to go. That's a little bit of suspense, and that therefore, by the end of the episode, we are sailing forth and we see lots of guys in very cool helmets, including Elendil and one with little bits
Everyone
on the side.
looks so good in that last scene.
Yeah, and then we have Galadriel, who has some very kick-ass armor. Unclear where from, but it really is a totally heroic moment, and I was incredibly happy to see it. Whiteraven, can you speak?
I can. I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
That's okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Brett, do you want to give your lemon cake rating out of 5 for this episode?
Give it 4.5. I actually love this episode. It was great.
Me too. We already did the pre-Hobbitses in the Southlands. Anything you want to say about those? What's going on with the Hobbitses?
Love the Wandering Day song.
Yeah.
Play it to my children when I'm putting them to sleep.
Who do you think the weird people are who were standing over the crater looking at where?
The one that looked like they like to hurt puppies. I guess bad guys.
Generic bad guys. And
I mean, obviously, it could be Sauron in his beautiful form.
Oh, God, I didn't even think it could be Sauron. I just assumed it was minions. But yeah, shit, you're right. Do you think it's Gandalf, the stranger?
I still do. I mean, they can do whatever they want. So yeah, it makes some sense, and I like it so far. Like, if it is Gandalf, I like how he has to like learn to be good and to control himself, because he would be very powerful. So he has to almost learn to not use his power because they can be very devastating to those around him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then over to the story in the Southlands. Any thoughts, comments, particular moments and moods there?
I think it's fine. I don't know what to think about it. It's just like half the men took what they considered to be the easy way out, which isn't necessarily wrong, I guess, from the outside looking in. Like if you were one of them, I don't know which side you'd be on. Like you're facing either certain death or perhaps a chance at life. So I don't know. I guess I can't blame them for going bad, but
yeah,
props to those that stayed good.
I think the show is actually I mean, things like you do, because they're clearly making it look like it's an okay decision, and we are meant to wonder what we would do in their place.
The message of Lord of the Rings, which was a very compassionate and empathetic one, is that we would all go bad under enough pressure if enough people we loved were at risk, and that some people just hold out for longer. But even Frodo went at it. So I have a lot of sympathy for them. I don't think any of them did it without knowing. I mean, they're not sort of like going rah rah Morgoth. Yeah, baddies are good, are they?
Well, that one seems to be like, let's go with them.
Yeah,
They
that one
treated
guy.
us well before.
Yeah, exactly. One of them
Yeah.
was clearly a crypto Morgoth supporter the whole time.
Does anybody have any theories on the Dark Elf? I have a thought, but I think it's too far out there for it to be possible. Just because it's
Do you think
Go
it's
ahead.
like Maglor or Maglor or whatever?
Meglin. So Eol's like this dark elf prince, and his son he like betrays Gondolin and kind of against his will, but he betrays Gondolin and is a big part of their fall.
Yeah.
And he
Well,
was like
yeah,
tortured by
he
Morgoth.
steals Turgon's wife, sister and takes her to wife, and they create Meglin, and Meglin kind of betrays a secret passage way to Morgoth into Gondolin. He's also thrown from like the highest tower.
Well, this dude is injured. Like, he's not in great shape. Like, you can see scars on the side of his face, and his arm is all covered up.
So one of Feanor's sons, there were a set of twins, and they were the youngest ones and the final ones to die in the quest for the Silmarils. One of them goes
that
like
one
into
actually.
the ocean. Yeah. One of them chases a Silmaril into the ocean, and I'm kind of thinking Adar looks like he spent some time in the water. He was all pruny.
Possibly. I
Kinda
was thinking
pale.
more Burns, but I guess it could be.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel he looks like Burn victim.
But also, like, the fact that he's almost offended that they'd call him Sauron, because if he would be like either one of those elves, they wouldn't like Sauron because they'd almost be under Morgoth more than Sauron. So they'd be offended that they were called one of his other lieutenants, kind of.
Yeah, it'd be like, he's just my peer. I don't worship him. I'm not, yeah.
Or they're not even
Oh,
necessarily Sauron evil in that way, but they've been corrupted in some way.
No, I think that's a good theory, actually. I hope so, because it's at least rooted in lore rather than them just making up some new character like Aiwendil.
But it'd be hard. There'd be a lot of backstory to it if they wanted to tell it, and I don't know how quickly they could get through that. Like, it'd almost have to be him telling the story to someone.
Exposition heavy.
And I almost feel like they already had that chance when they had the elves captive, and he just let him go.
True. Okay, well, anyway, we'll wait and see. I mean, I think visually he's probably the most arresting character so far, and certainly intriguing.
I think he has some kind of burns on his face or hands, or it's unclear, but that was also a clue that it might be Megler who actually has his hand burned by the Silmarils because he turned bad, and I mean, she says reading from the wiki, but
It's okay.
So,
We have to
yeah,
get information somewhere.
I agreed. I read the same thing from his reaction to being called Sauron.
He's almost offended that you would even put him in the same level.
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally like pushes the guy back or throws him back with his magics.
Yeah.
Do we think the guy killed the kid?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
For sure. He's a quisling, definitely. Oh, cool. Anything more on the Southlands, or should we go back to Numenor and the passage to battle?
So the very final shot, I think, of looking up at the tower from like down below the mountain, I think that's meant to be the tower of Cirith Ungol, where we see
Really?
Frodo after he gets stabbed by
Really?
Shalab.
Cool.
I think so.
It just feels like a
Yeah.
smaller tower to something that would be in that kind of Mordorian space, but maybe.
Well, everything but Barad-dûr was built by the elves or Numenorians to keep watch on the land. So
Yeah,
that's
wasn't
my theory.
Cirith Ungol Gondor watchtower?
Yeah, I think it changed names.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it was
Yeah,
Cirith Ungol at the time. It had a different name when they put the watchtower there to watch him. But
Yeah.
since the timeline is so weird in this, it's hard to say what's anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I don't mind. I think they're doing a good job of telling the story. It was a little slow getting started, but now it feels like it's rolling pretty well.
I agree. still drawing my knowledge from the wiki, they have a map with where the locations in the Rings of Power are in our more modern Lord of the Rings map, and they placed the Tower Osterith kind of on the other side of Mordor, so it wouldn't be the ancient Cirith but what do they know if we don't know? I don't know.
Are you saying
I don't
that
know where that
Wiki
information comes
knows more
from.
than me?
Yeah, and this is all still pre Fall of Numenor, so the map hasn't shifted yet, right?
I guess. I mean, regardless of whether it is or not, like proto Kirtangol, it's still, I think the vibe is there, and that's what we're meant to see also, because
Yeah.
we've all watched a lot of the Rings, so we are all going to be like, ooh, this looks like this tower or this place, and that works well to tie the whole thing together.
They do seem to be modeling things after the other set of movies, which
Mhm.
I like it because it has like has some continuity even though they're separate from one another. But I appreciate the fact that they're trying.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because they were visually stunning, and so it's lovely to feel in that world. But it's also commercially sensible because the vast the audience they're targeting are the people who were in love with those original three movies. So
Right.
it's kind of wise. You can see that a lot with the costumes as well, like a lot of the military costumes and the way that Galadriel and her military costume looks. I think the only real breakaway is giving the elves the kind of 80s lacquered bouffant hair rather than the long, flowy kind of
Well, I think
they're
they're
elf locks.
trying to explain like the elves being lesser by this whole like everything's being corrupted and dimming. And then when they finally defeat Sauron for the first time and they start using their rings, they probably get some of that like shine to them back. I think that's where they're going with this, but I'm not positive.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, is that a nice segue? Let's not go to Numenor. Let's at that point go to what's happening in Khazad-dûm. I think it's another wonderful way in which this episode's all about making moral choices, which is why I love it because I think this is exactly what Tolkien's all about. How there is definitely a right and wrong thing to do, but it's really complicated picking the right thing. So here we find that Elrond is brought into the circle of truth about why he was sent, which is to get the Mithril, apparently because it saves elves from having to leave Middle Earth and losing their precious bodily fluids or some such. Do you think that's just a crock of shit he's been told to justify why he has to shaft his friend? Or do you think that literally is what they're going to go for in the writing? Because if so, that just seems very weird to me.
It's the one part that seems like kind of a stretch to me, where they're just like, "Oh no, we'll need this ore. We knew it was there." Like, "Oh, did you? What are you talking
Yeah.
about?" Why would they even let the dwarves have this mountain if they knew it was there?
Yeah, and I guess they're kind of like retconning why there's a Balrog there because there's a Balrog on top of the mountain at one point, but like it just doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, wouldn't Legolas be stabbing Frodo in like the back of the head for his mithril shirt? Like, if it gave elves all their power, it just doesn't make sense.
But I think by that point they have their rings of power, so they have because like Galadriel and Elrond, their realms are they keep back like Mirkwood isn't like affecting their lands because they have the power to keep that at bay. But they don't have that yet. So this corruption that is going through is infesting their lands as well. And this because they don't have the power to hold it back.
But I refuse to believe that this is any worse than when Morgoth was like. So
I think what they're
they
saying
must
is
have
they
been
don't have the
really
power
dim back
anymore.
then.
I don't think they have the power anymore because most of the ones that went to Valinor and came back aren't around anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I get it. Like I don't know if it makes sense to me. I'm doing a lot of leaps for them.
So, like, when they destroy the one ring, then, and all their other rings lose power, wouldn't they want Mithril again?
But they go west. They don't
Yeah,
stay.
because the bad guys are dead, so they don't have anything to do in Middle Earth anymore. Like, they don't have any more corruption to stop. But I do agree that the Mithril thing is kind of far-fetched, and I don't really get why the solution to their decline would be a material thing.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I think Celebrimbor at one point says we need all of the Mithril to have even a chance for all the elves to live, and that just seems
Right? Are they gonna boil it down and take shots of it? I don't understand where they're going.
yeah. It kind of, I don't know. It kind of seems like a bit too capitalist for elves.
I did like
Yeah,
that
I
he
agree.
convinced
It's
him to
very
give him
weird.
the table.
Yeah,
That was so funny.
I still like Durin.
I,
He's
I,
like the best part of this show.
I know. I could watch a whole show on Elrond and Durin just like hanging out and telling stories.
But you know it's gonna go bad. That's what makes me anxious with their scenes. Like there seems to be genuine care there, but something is going to happen to make Durin hate him, and we can already
Well, he's
see
gonna
it. And
steal all the Mithril, right?
I don't know about steal
Yeah.
it, but convince him to use it, and it's going to go bad because elves and
And
dwarves are not in good terms.
yeah, and
Yeah.
isn't the whole point of Celebrimbor's new project to like build the forge that will eventually lead them to forge the rings and
Well,
give
the dwarves are
elves
going to
more
get rings
powers?
too.
Yeah, but like they do their own thing, right?
They're corrupted, so I don't know
Okay.
how it all works.
I don't. Yeah, I'm kind of frustrated with like I thought this show was going to be about getting to when everyone gets a ring, but we're not seeing that yet.
It's not progressing fast enough.
But we have multiple seasons, right? Like 5 of them
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
I think
it's
this season might end with them meeting Sauron in his beautiful form, and maybe season 2 will be them making the rings.
Yeah.
yeah.
How many episodes do we have left? Does anybody know?
I think it's 8 episodes total.
And what
Oh,
have we done?
so just
5?
just 3. Yeah.
3? No, it can't be 3.
Yeah.
They had 2 right away.
This was episode 5, right?
I think it was 5th one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's 3 left after this one.
Oh, 3 left, yeah.
Yeah.
I do think Durin took it pretty well, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think his father's gonna take it so well.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he did say that to you, didn't he?
Yeah, I just don't. I don't understand the Mithril thing, and I think it's gonna end up in a bad place. And I think it's just because the writers get really lazy at points. The visual with the elf giving the tree life for whatever reason was like cool, but like they don't. That's not how it works, man.
I mean, we don't know how magic works in Tolkien's world. He never really went into it, but
No, but yeah, this definitely seems like a very cheap explanation and a very uncharacteristic.
why did this tree matter so much to either one of them?
And why though? I mean, and yeah, the fact that the Mithril is a solution to everything and it's giving them that power, it's really weird.
But I'm willing to
But I
give
mean,
him the
they also
leeway
get
to
that
take
power
it.
from. Yeah, sorry, go.
No, I was just saying I'm willing to give him the leeway to see where it goes, and then afterwards I'll be like, well, that was stupid.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of like The Hobbit. I gave him leeway, and I should not have, but here we are again.
Yeah, I mean they get a lot of powers from just a ring, so I guess they could get their power and their life blood from Mithril. Why not?
I don't
Yeah,
really.
except it's not confirmed in any of the Tolkien lore that we know of.
Which I'm not upset about. Like, I don't care if they want to do their own little things, as long as they don't like have great impact on the larger scale.
Yeah.
Which, if they just want to give a reason why these rings will be so powerful, all right, fine, I'll accept it. Because otherwise, it doesn't even make sense why they could make rings that all of a sudden are really powerful. Like, where does the power come from?
It comes from the light of the trees. That's why.
Cool.
Isn't that what that guy put into the tree root while the Balrog was whipping it with fire?
Well, it was supposed to be a tree that had a Silmaril in it.
Or at the
And-
Which,
base
no-
of the mountain?
which is already suspicious. But
Well, one of them fell down a
But the
chasm, so I guess
Silmarils-
it could be.
yeah, but the magic of the Silmarils also comes from the light of the trees. So basically all the magic in Middle-earth comes from the light of the Valar.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it would be like double diluted in Mithril.
But it's all we got.
Take a trip to Valinor, stay a few years, come back,
Recharge.
recharge. Exactly.
I think the point is like they don't want to come back from Valinor anymore.
Yeah, no, I know.
Once you get there, you're like,
If
that
it was-
Middle Earth is shit. Stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could be setting it up as something different, as like the elves know that they have to defeat Sauron or something right off the bat because they know their time is ending. Because that's kind of the biggest theme in Lord of the Rings. Like the whole build-up for Gandalf is the time of elves and Istari are ending. The time of Middle Earth keeping their own shit together is like starting. So not really. I don't know. I just feel like they could have gone a more direct way. Like I understand they have to make this conflict between elves and dwarves, but they could have just did like the same thing as like they did with the Nogulator, which is in the Silmarillion, and just that the dwarves made it, gave it to the elves, and then the dwarves killed elves to take it back.
Yeah. They're giving them a MacGuffin to fix all their problems, and they're
Right.
giving the problems a time limit because the forest is being corrupted and it's spreading, so we need to do this now because otherwise elves would not get out of bed for this. So that is their reasoning behind making things move forward. Otherwise, elves would just sit there and wait.
Yeah.
Time matters not.
I like that Elendil does come to Durin's defense and kind of voices that urgency because they're like, dwarves, it may seem like hastiness to elves, but not to dwarves that live the years that they live in between our decisions.
Right. It's like 20 years to us is nothing, but to them, their whole family grew up.
Right.
Should we move on to Numenor, maybe?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. So yeah, Numenor, right when you came in, Brett, we were saying how frustrating it is that they were meant to go and they took a whole episode more before actually leaving for Middle-earth, which I didn't mind that much because we got some nice training scenes and I guess we needed a bit more politics on the island first.
I do think because Numenorians are longer lived than regular humans, so they would take longer to make decisions. So it doesn't bother me that they're taking their time about it. Because what's their rush, other than Galadriel being like, "No, he's out there.
Galadriel needs to leave yesterday."
Does it bother anyone else that when they're talking in this show, they're talking completely normal, but when they say a name, they like pronounce it very specific, like Galadriel, and it's like everything else we're saying normal, Numenor. It's like why we just say it?
It's like Hispanic newscasters or something that speak without an accent until they have to, sign off as their name, and it's like they put some extra stank on it.
Isildur.
Isildur. Yeah, what are we doing? Sorry, where were we? Oh, Galadriel wanting to leave yesterday.
Yeah.
And Halbrand not wanting to leave at all.
Yeah,
until
she
he
seems
does.
less impatient in this episode, which is weird considering like she's getting delayed a whole.
But she can see the motion. Maybe that's all she needs.
Yeah, and she's getting an army instead of just getting escorted by herself.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
an army with 200 less men than it was originally.
Yes, yeah. But she also, I think it makes sense that they have to prepare and they cannot just go, okay, well, let's go, 5 ships.
Well, they had to have a parade.
I mean, of course.
And how about Elendil and Isildur just leaving her without telling her? I guess that's what happened there? The sister?
The sister, yeah, or daughter,
but she was just like, oh, wait, you're leaving? Like,
yeah.
what happened?
I mean, yeah. And what's up with her like plotting to stop this? Like,
yeah, this is going way too fast. Like she went from, "Ooh, I'm not sure this is a good idea," to "This has to stop. You have to convince your father." And we don't really get like I'd want a conversation between her and Elendil or something like that because it just feels like
Right. She's like, you need to talk to your father, and he's like, well, how about you talk to your father? Like she's never talked to him. Maybe he didn't take her meeting.
Yeah.
I just want to know where Narion is. Why do we have this new character?
Who?
So Isildur's brother Anarion.
Ah,
he's off screen.
Yeah, he's actually like ruling one of the kingdoms of Middle Earth down the road, but instead we're getting this woman and her relationship with maybe Alfarazan's son, maybe not. Like,
well, maybe Elendil has to make him brown chicken, brown cow.
We all already discussed the guy who bested Galadriel in the kind of whoever can touch my flesh becomes lieutenant. Is called Valandil, but that's not Valandil who becomes King of Arnor, right? Just using the same name.
No, because that is Isildur's son, so he could just name him after him because they are best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple Ecthelions, a couple Denethors, so they reuse names down the line.
Can you believe that? So stupid. We would never do that.
Clearly, Mary has really clearly been invented in at the end of the 20th century when I was born, right?
Yeah, how do you feel about that, Matt? What do you think is in Halbrand's pouch?
The knuckle bones of
testicles?
the guy whose hand he had to cut off to serve Morgoth.
Oh, yeah? If I could just get that half a sword back I left.
I mean, I'm not okay. I know we've like written off Halbrand from the start, like he's gonna be a bad guy. I'm not entirely sure, and I cannot help but like hope that he's not gonna be. And the reason for that is that he has a distinctive Aragon vibe and looks.
Which is why he
And-
needs to go bad.
Yeah, probably, but it wouldn't make sense that they make him look like Aragon and then he goes bad, or the other way around. Both would work, but I've decided to let myself be surprised by the show and still believe that he can choose good.
Well, that's good because this guy doesn't exist. So they can do whatever they want with him.
It does look like in this episode he chooses to redeem himself by joining Galadriel in
Yeah,
the
right.
expedition.
Yeah.
I think he
You
will
got
be
some
good,
sweet.
but something will make him choose a different path. Like, I just hope it is something that I can get on board with. Like, I can see why he'd do that. Not like, well, that was dumb. Because he doesn't seem like he wants power. He just seems like he wants peace.
Yeah, he wants to be left alone.
So
Just
do you
do
think
his
he'll
thing.
capitulate to Sauron like those other bad guys did, just in the name of peace?
I don't know, because would it really be more peaceful for him to be in servitude to Sauron? Or is it worth the effort to try to defeat him to then be left alone?
Well, if I just saw the display that the one elf I ever met did in a battle, I wouldn't want to fight them. So I think I would choose the fight. That fight choreography was fantastic.
That
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And he didn't score any flesh. He just cut her dress.
I like their basis of promotion is that though, not like actual strategic prowess or anything like that. It's just you barely got her. Good job. You're now in charge, or lieutenant, whatever.
And also, you barely got her with the help of about 5 other people. It wasn't like you bested her in single combat. So, well done. Slow clap.
I'm surprised she didn't put her hair up before she started fighting. That seems like a silly choice, but
Well,
Dude, she
I
should
mean,
have been
if you
like
wish-
taking off her earrings.
if you want to talk silly choices, I mean, why does Elendil's helmet have 2 little bits on either side? That just
I
that just
told you
seems
that is ceremonial. I don't think they'll
eminently
wear that.
designed to be caught on other people's armor in combat or just get you into scrapes that you can't get out of. But, you know, kudos for helmetage. We
Well,
like
he
a
won't be in the
helmet.
front line if he's their general.
Do you think it was a deliberate call out to for Frodo when they did the sort of for Middle Earth bit? If that felt like a deliberate echo, but a little bit unearned. When Aragorn at the end of Lord of the Rings says for Frodo, it's just so epic because we've been on such a journey. It's so heartrending. I felt this was not similar.
Yeah, because nothing's happened yet.
Exactly. You got on a boat for Frodo.
Who's Frodo, man?
I went
I
to
can see the
Starbucks
future.
and got a latte for Frodo. I mean, you could just think of so many daily occurrences that you could make epic by going for whatever. It's just, yeah, silly.
Interesting, her father told her not to go, and it looks like she
Yeah.
still is going anyway.
Yeah, and what do we think is influencing her father's warning? Like, is he getting whispers from
vision?
someone else or visions?
Yeah, the Numenorians could some of them could kind of get visions. I think maybe he's been looking in the plan too.
Well, his name is Tar Palantir. I think that had something to do with him seeing. That's why they named him that. All right. Well, I have to go, everyone. But I enjoyed this. Sorry.
That's all right, Brett.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was
Say
lovely
hi
to have you
to the
back on.
family.
Yeah.
Thanks for making time. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
Cool. So, what else do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about Brett now that he's gone.
Oh, I have no. I have a question. Like, Isildur is supposed to be basically making stables, but where? Doesn't look like there's horses on this boat.
But
Oh, you didn't see the one horse
didn't his
getting
dad say-
craned in?
Didn't his dad say his horse was coming at one point in the episode?
I mean, maybe, but just the boats. Like it sounded to me like they were like, oh yeah, there are horses on these boats because we're cavalry. But the boat is clearly not designed. It's not a very big boat as like boats go. So
That's literally what I thought, and they're not even densely packed in. I thought, so you're doing this big armada, and you've probably got about 50 people, and basically no horses.
Did anyone notice only one life raft in the middle of the boat for all those guys? That's just dangerous. Safety first.
I mean, the boats are beautiful, but that they don't look like big ass boats that can actually transport like part of an army and people and rations and water and armor and whatever. I mean, yeah.
They can transport a lot of fuel.
I feel like Mary just became the honorary Nadia because it just went very military logistics on us. But you're right. And also, why would you put all of the cavalry on one boat and presumably the infantry another and then the archers on the third? Why wouldn't you mix everyone up so that if one of the ships goes down, you don't have a completely lopsided invasion force? Questions that need answers.
To me, it's part of what I don't really like about the show is it's that it's okay, it's good. They might be doing a good job with a lot of the story, and it's different, and it's not all rooted in lore, but that's fine. But it lacks substance for some things, and it's always weird to say that it's not realistic because it's Middle Earth, but it's not realistic in world.
I completely agree with you. And I found myself really being very emotionally engaged in this episode and really enjoying it. So all of these practical objections I shared, but somehow just the sight of them all finally leaving for Middle Earth was very moving. I love the song. And there was something so moving about the whole conversation between Durin and Elrond. Like, it just feels like we're finally getting proper human stakes and proper human sort of conflicts of emotion and morality, whether it's in Nori realizing what's going on in Gandalf or Elrond and Durin or whatever it is. It just feels like these are big decisions and they feel real, like Halbrand's confusion and guilt and shame at whatever it is he did back in the Southlands and unwillingness to go back just felt very touching. So I feel like it won on character, if not on dialogue or military logistics. And the Mithril thing is very much midi-chlorians, though. That's going to annoy me if that... I'm really hoping that's a lie that Celebrimbor's told him to get him to shop the dwarfs, because otherwise that just feels like very poor world building.
Oh, but that's a good point, right? It might be that because
I think they just had to. They know that he's good friends with the dwarf. They know he's the one person who can do this task, but they know he's also a man of great ethics or an elf of great ethics. So what are the stakes you can give him to make him do this? Is to say that we need this as elves.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I enjoyed this as well. It's got a lot of things going for it, and I'm just slightly disappointed that with all of that and all of the money for it looking so beautiful, how is it that it's not perfect? I guess if you can throw that much money at all of that, just maybe a bit more to have some kind of guy who's going to be like, are you sure about these boats, dude? I don't know.
They should have hired a Varley, damn it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Be like, oh, that's stupid.
We should make our pitch now to be technical assistants on the next series, just giving it a pass. I think there is a danger, isn't there, sometimes with fantasy people that they kind of don't take the practical stuff seriously because they think that being in a fantasy world gives them a free pass. And in a way, that's what I love about George, because in George, a lot of the mechanics of the world and the constraints of the world still make sense, despite the kind of fantasy overlay. And Tolkien's actually a little bit like that, with his sort of exquisite mapping and everything. So this seems a bit weird. Anything else on this episode you'll want to discuss or talk about?
I'm good.
I'm good.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Well, given that everything's copacetic, let's round out the episode here. Thank you to the listener for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode and it was less miserable-less than the previous one. Feel free to join us on the Discord. Go to vokpodcast.wordpress.com to find the link, or find us on Twitter and you will find your directions to the chat where there is fierce debate going on. Actually, less about Rings of Power, although still some good chat going on there. But there's a lot of debate about Alicent's motives in House of the Dragon, so it's particularly active right now. With that, thank you all for joining. Goodbye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Mina.
I feel like I was kind of waiting for the Aru, and then I was like, wrong podcast.
Don't have no room here.
I know. We need to have a Hobbity song.
Isildur!
Isildur!
Brett, talk to me. I need to hear your voice.